Distinguished panelists, dear moderator, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, today we commemorate the International Day of Persons with Disabilities. Persons with disabilities are estimated to represent 15% of the world's population. 1 in 10 children has a disability. 1 in 5 women is likely to experience a disability during her lifetime. Furthermore, 46% of persons 60 years of age and over have a disability. In the humanitarian context, these numbers can go much higher. We dedicate today to all persons with disabilities, their families and communities, and every single one of us who one day may have a disability. We recognize the valued contributions made by all persons with disabilities to overall well-being and diversity of their communities, and recall that the promotion of a fully enjoyment of their human rights and fundamental freedoms and the full participation of persons with disabilities, young and old, will result in significant advances in the social, economic, and development of our societies. Dear friends, it is an honor to participate in the presentation of the film Faith's World as part of the 13th session on the Conference of State Parties to the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. I want to thank the United Nations Association of New York for your invitation to be part of this experience and for your efforts to the realization of the event. The 13th session of the Conference of State Parties to the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities closed today in the midst of a global circumstances that demands our collective efforts. With millions of COVID-19 cases worldwide, economies and health systems have been put to the test. Above all, the pandemic has highlighted the vulnerability of certain groups, particularly people with disabilities, who suffer disproportionately from economic hardship and health-related problems. In my country, Ecuador, the crisis caused by the pandemic has required an interinstitutional articulation toward the implementation of public policy on disabilities, accompanied by multiple efforts to protect persons with disabilities and their families, especially focused on the prevention, respect of their rights, and comprehensive access to health care during the emergency. We must work for the inclusion and access of persons with disabilities to health services on an equal basis with others, including medicines, vaccines, and medical equipment, as well as critical information that is available in accessible formats. Likewise, the active participation of persons with disabilities and their representative organization in all stages of the response and recovery from COVID-19 are imperative, so that persons with disabilities are at the center of our efforts. As I expressed last Monday during the opening of the COSP, every crisis can become an opportunity. It is up to us, to all of us, to ensure that the world emerges from this pandemic as a more just place, free from discrimination and violence. This historic moment can be translated into enormous support to jointly solve social problems, to build back better, and to promote with greater emphasis on rights with persons with disabilities. Dear friends, Ecuador chaired the 13th Conference of the State Parties, which offered an opportunity for state parties and all stakeholders to reflect on experiences and the lessons learned during the pandemic, identify gaps to strengthen policies and improve our practices to fully implement the convention. The Conference of State Parties has been in a steady growing and has become one of the largest and most important global forums of disability issues. As the international community is taking action to build back better after the current crisis and achieve the 2030 agenda, our deliberation and contributions at the Conference of State Parties becomes more relevant and important. We must amplify our efforts to fully implement the convention while pursuing sustainable development for our people in line with the SDGs. Taking into account all these new developments, the Bureau decided to choose as our overarching theme the 13th session, a decade of action and dedication of inclusive sustainable development implementation of the CRPD and the 2030 Agenda for all persons with disabilities. This theme has been addressed during a whole week dedicated to persons with disabilities, with many activities at the UN that will include 3 virtual roundtables on issues that are of the utmost importance in our current social environment. They include topics that require our attention as they address a wide range of factors that will directly influence how our societies will continue to respond to the rightful demands of persons with disabilities. Dear friends, today's screening has provided a lively reminder of why we must continue carrying the work toward the effective protection and promotion of rights of persons with disabilities. Faith Galbraith is not only an example, but a role model. She was born with cerebral palsy, epilepsy, and cortical vision impairment, but also with fierce determination. From skydiving to traveling to New York, where she participates during the Fashion Week with Runaway of Our Dreams, Faith is a reminder why we cannot allow women, and in particular women with disabilities, to remain underrepresented in many sectors and in leadership positions. There are many women with disabilities who make great contributions to our society who definitely do not receive the recognition they deserve. Improving accessibility, strengthening inclusion, solidarity, and equality must remain our priority, and it is our firm commitment to build a society free of discrimination and without the barriers that limit the enjoyment of human rights, in particular persons with disabilities. We are convinced that only together we will achieve these objectives in order to benefit 1 billion people with disabilities, rightfully claiming nothing about us without us. Thank you very much.